man, you 3-level a team. They barely take any structures, and yet I'm over there sitting with Grubby and Skimmy. We're watching the game, and we find ways to think that Team Freedom could probably be doing more in the early game, things like that. They played very cautious, a very macro-heavy approach that Gilead talked about right before we went to the game. I think that Team Freedom is starting to figure a few things out on how to play. Certain things that they do, they did a lot of things well, and it's hard to nitpick that you think they can do more when they just look that dominant, but so far so good. Again, a bit surprised that BTG is like, look, we are comfortable taking you back to Sky Temple where the exact same thing happened a few hours ago, and it looked a lot of the same, except Team Freedom definitely closed it out this game.
Well, we're getting ready for Battleground number 2, but before we jump in, it's not typical that we see a North American team be so strong with Tyrael, and Zugra, Gilly, you talked about this earlier, is putting on a display.
His sanctifications have been awesome. It's hard to know that you're going to be going forward and to have that knowledge that the whole team is going to be going with you. Plus, how teams have been using Tyrael, especially in Korea, is as another support. Sanctification is just as important as Sound Barrier and Crystal Aegis, and we talked about how necessary it was that Team Freedom stop stacking these abilities that we saw earlier in the day, the first time that they played versus Beyond the Game. And guys, we saw some perfection in how they were synchronizing those abilities. There was the one time that maybe they didn't need to use the Sound Barrier at the very end, but it's the point that they used them all one after another in perfect synergy to make sure that they made it through whatever damage Dragon Blade and Tracer could bring to them.
Yeah, and when we're talking about comps that they're running into Tyrael in, this is now, of course, our 4th game of these teams we're talking about here. This is game 5 going to Towers of Doom, but in the 4th game, it just feels like the understanding for Zugrug as to when the damage is going to come out is not only so perfect that he uses his Tyrael shields to buy time, and it's in the apex of the Dragon Blade where everyone's half health, 1/3 health,
Yes.
like this is when everyone's going to die. That's when he plays it down. During the sync, everyone heals up from the Lucio, amp it up, and it's just right after that Sound Barrier. It's like, how do you break this team that's got such good defensive setup? And I think you banned the Tyrael!
But guys,
we were talking about this!
You wanted them to ban the Tyrael, and I told you Team Freedom didn't play Tyrael in all of Phase 2, not even Part 2, all of Phase 2, and he just pops in as like, guess what guys, I'm a Tyrael god now.
This is such a smart
insane.
adaptation. I really like this.
Taking away the ETC, I think, is another good call there. It definitely forces Team Freedom onto something. And I say force, we haven't, have we seen them on Murden yet?
Check back.
For
Team Freedom.
But
Not in their previous series against BTG, they did not.
Yeah, and so it kind of takes away the Tyrael. Generally, they would go into the ETC as kind of that first pick fallback, first rotation. Instead, they prioritize the Warriors at this instance. Obviously, that's not the only thing that Freedom can play. They got here for a reason, but you know, we haven't seen the Murden yet. We see the Ariel taken away. We've seen a lot of Lucio also played by Collusion. It seems like maybe they're going to focus a little bit more heavily on the comfort picks.
Yeah, certainly. It feels like it's a Zugrug kind of target draft here. You take away the Tyrael, you take away the ETC, and Murden, I did just check, I believe has been played by this team 0 times in today's group. So now you can see for one of the first times as well, Team Freedom is burning down that time bank without any lock-ins. It feels like BTG has certainly started to figure out what's the best way to draft, but they are willing to bring the Murden in.
Yeah, this has always been, it's always been a strategy that Team Freedom has employed, is when they draft Zugrug early on, things generally go better in the favor of Team Freedom. And it's not, like you said, that he can't play a lot, that he doesn't have a big hero pool. It's just that they kind of devise their strategies based on what Zugrug is playing and how they're going to be engaging. So now they have Murden and Abathur. They're bringing Abathur back to Towers of Doom, but beyond the game, it brings back Genji.
Bring back Genji. Dahaka's taken away. You've got Abathur. There's a lot you can do with Abathur. I really feel like what we've seen out of the first few days here, Sonya might be a priority ban target if you're on the side of BTG to try and keep that away from Cure, because a Murd and Sonya style with an Abathur hat on either of those heroes is a pretty terrifying combo.
Well, last time we saw Cure actually pick up the Lucio, or not the Lucio, the Leo. Instead, the Leoric coming in there and using an Abathur hat as well. I was actually wondering about a Lucio ban. Do you think it's warranted here to take away Tyrael and Lucio, who has been a powerhouse duo for Team Freedom?
I think so. You know, you have the ability to then finally make these Dragon Blades worth their weight in gold. I think that's part of the reason why the Uther ban comes through here. That's the concern now for Team Freedom. We don't have Tyrael. We might lose Lucio. Let's at least make sure that the Uther is going to be gone so that Genji can't have that extra protection himself. They don't have a Tyrael to work with, so I think now you have to take the Lucio. It's available, and Team Freedom is going to be happy about that. Will it be enough is the question. And what do they bring in as their solo laner? It's been Sonya and Leorc, as you said, pretty much exclusively tonight.
I would... They ran it earlier. I prefer a little bit more damage-centric, especially against this style, right? Obviously, you've got ETC Dahaka, 2 prime targets to just drain the life out of them with Leo. But I really feel this is more of a brawl style when you've got the ETC Dahaka, especially the Genji coming in. You land that Poison Spear on a Genji that comes in, gets out of position. It's rough. Guys, we still have Brightwing that's available. We haven't seen much Brightwing. I know that is a hero that Collusion has and is more... If you actually watch him play Hero League, he plays a ton of Brightwing. They opt with Rhaegar, though.
Rhaegar and Vala.
Starts to feel like solo support. Obviously, Abathur's somewhat of a pseudo support here. You know, you can't really fault them for this with this draft. There's no Tyrael against them to shut down the heroic, of course, of Malthael. That's still a possibility for them. Right-wing Kharazim coming through here as the answer, so it is going to be Infinity on that Genji, kind of solo DPS. Is it enough damage? I think it might be. Without the Lucio here to mitigate those Dragon Blades, it certainly could be a bad time for Team Freedom.
But is there a reason why you can't go for the Lucio as a 5th pick here? I mean, you have Abathur who can hat both Vala, even use Ultimate Evolution there, and Murden as well. They have options here to respawn with a second support, even though they have the Abathur.
You have Abathur here, and obviously he can do something against what Dahaka is going to push with, but I feel like if you don't have a strong solo laner here, like a melee solo laner that can go toe-to-toe with Dahaka, or in Sonya's case, win against Dahaka, you're going to fall behind in the rotations, because not only do we have the Dahaka, you have the Brightwing as well. So macro, you're going to lose Bell Towers. That's what I'm worried about.
What about Arthas? Do you like Sonya better than Arthas still?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Arthas can shut down a Genji if he hits the Howling Blast, but Arthas isn't going to fare as well in the solo lane. So I think there's arguments for both, though. Absolutely.
Well, we're about to see here what will be the final pickup here for Team Freedom against the solo Genji double support, double tank.
Back to Leo.
It's Leo once again here.
It's very reminiscent of their draft earlier.
So, and they had lots of different options this time. Last time when they picked Leoric, it felt like they had been drafted into a hole they had to fill with Leoric, and it didn't feel like it was the most optimum pick for them. But obviously now, they're liking this Leoric Abathur. He's got the hat. He can go in there, keep it going. They've got the extra damage on Spike Burst. They made it happen.
It may happen here. Well, before we... Oh, I'm sorry, one more
there's
thing.
something to consider. Some of the regions have been doing this from time to time, and especially now you're dealing with the Genji style. Who's the most vulnerable in this situation? It's the Rhaegar on the backside. We've seen some teams more than willing to clone the Rhaegar.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You get all the lightning shields in there. You've got that backup healing. You sustain through that. Plus, Rhaegar is the most offensive-oriented style, especially when you get the lightning shield and a little bit of extra damage there. So don't sleep on that as well in these team fights.
I think the key factor here is going to be Infinity's Genji. Can he actually get those kills with the Dragon Blade, and can they survive through? As I think that goes back to the argument for the Rhaegar clone. You survive through the Dragon Blade, there's not a whole lot of other damage in terms of burst on this team, you win the longer fight. So I think that's really going to be what determines this game in team fights.
Well, before we potentially go into what might be the last game of the night, let's play a game called Who Wins the Draft? I'm going to go with Jay Howe at the very far left. Who do you think won?
Who do I think won the draft? I don't know. Who do I think is going to win the game? Team Freedom.
Yeah, okay. Wolf, how about you?
I think that BDG won the draft, to be honest. They have 2 globals. They have a strong solo laner. They have ETC, who could also potentially be a global, is good interrupts for the comp of Team Freedom. But I think Team Freedom is riding on a high right now. Kira had that fantastic moment at the end. I think Team Freedom will take the game, but I do like the drafting style of Beyond the Game.
Playing to the team and knowing the team is hard to say for BTG, but for Team Freedom, seeing what they did versus Fnatic, I feel like it's Team Freedom.
Well, let's go ahead and move to Calaris and Dreadnought, who will bring you the action of the second game.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think for me, I feel a tall task here for BTG, as they have a comp that needs to keep Team Freedom at bay unless they want to actually fall out of this series.
Absolutely, and we already have seen what they've been able to do with this Leoric Abathur composition, controlling the bottom half of the map in their series earlier today. So very much it is BTG here needs to prove themselves, you know, not only to if they're going to survive in this tournament.
Let's head into Towers of Doom to find out if they can survive, or if Team Freedom will wave that American flag high, getting in to the next map. Map number 2. Team Freedom currently leads 1-0, Dread.
Did you know that Team Freedom actually is 3/5 Canadian?
Yes, I did. and yet the American
That's the flag
is
that we're going to be
plastered
repping. I'm
all
sorry, I
over
just
them.
had to drop that one there. Actually,
you
I
go.
don't even know if it's 3 fists anymore. I believe it might be 2 fists, but ultimately, they got a lot of those Canadians there. Either way, Team Freedom in the blue. We have Cure on the Leoric. We had Murden, played by Zugrug. Collusion was on the Rhaegar. Dansky on that Vala. Again, Nasmus on the Slug, Abathur.
And to the right-hand side, in the red, it's going to be Beyond the Game. Infinity will be rocking the Karazim. We have ST on the Dahaka. Next up, Molly on the Genji. Up next, we have 365, going to be on Brightwing. And finally, to round things out, Ego is on ETC.
And so you and I were talking a little bit as we saw the draft going through about this melee-heavy compositions that have been so very common within this meta, but how it changes in dynamic considering the map and ultimately the mule opportunity here for Team Freedom.
That's very true. Unfortunately for BTG, is the reason I said it before is why they have to keep their opponents at bay is if they do lose primarily, usually that bottom right-hand corner bell tower, it's very difficult for them to then wrestle that back because they lack all of that range, which very, very much so impedes their potential success in this game.
Yeah, rather than kind of being able to hang around it, throw out a couple of spells, get some damage, and whittle away at it, ultimately they have to dive beyond it, force the fight, and if they're successful, then can back out and make sure that they convert that into their favor. So I am very, very concerned for that angle here, but ultimately BTG and honestly the entire Chinese region always seems to clutch it out when necessary, and I expect to see the same here.
Dansky gets out, Ego went for it. Attempt at the power slide to try and catch up for him, but it came at his own detriment. He falls down. That's first blood. Team Freedom off to a great start.
Very good momentum-based start here for them, and that was something that you touched up on here. Is that it feels like Team Freedom is a team just gaining momentum, steamrolling here throughout this tournament, and ultimately, I've been honestly very, very impressed with the development, not only as a squad considering their boot camp, but just how they've been able to show up here, because they are, again, one of the youngest teams in the North American scene.
Truth be told, when they showed this composition prior, I will be very, very surprised if BTG is able to win this one out. Team Freedom looks on point.
Well, if Beyond the Game is going to make it, it's a great place to start, is the first altar phase. All three are going to come online. Posturing-wise, it looks like Dahaka is a bit more concerned with that top right, while the members of Team Freedom are poking around here towards the bottom altar.
Some pressure on Cure. He backs off. Brightwing is going to head towards the top right-hand altar. As we have the bottom one being contested for a moment, and Leoric will take the top left. So Abathur didn't want to relocate, try and do anything here. This will be a slow and steady pace here, although that being said, Dansky getting jumped on towards. Genji attempts the kill, and that will be Infinity, picking it up at the very end.
Ego hitting that power slide, knocking back Collusion, but the drag actually body blocked by Zugrug. Great defensive positioning there to make sure that he keeps his support alive, but it comes at a cost of 4 more shots onto that core.
When you're in the middle of either choke there for Dansky, you're near none of them, and you can't retreat out, and that was exactly what we saw Molly exploit to the best of his ability. Zugrug's pulling a good old Noblesse, trying to force them off of that camp. Not too big.
And I like to see that BTG is able to get that early game, shot advantage here, because into Abathur compositions, traditionally they should be struggling in those early fights, especially into a Karazim, Brightwing, Genji. Levels 1 through 9, all of those heroes are very, very high impact, so I'm very thankful to see that their compositional strengths are still showing here in the actual game.
Slow and steady down towards the bottom. Collusion goes for the bite on towards Ego. Doesn't get much done. Cure falls down. That's a commitment of 3 heroes, but it's not too bad. It will deny some of that soak unless we see Abathur relocate. And then somebody rotate up from bottom towards the mid lane, unless he's hatting, of course.
Very good job here from BTG. It was a very curious rotation there to see the Brightwing commit up towards top. I did think that they would maybe try and look towards Team Freedom, who has put a lot of emphasis and consideration towards the bottom lane, but ultimately it seems like they are a lot more focused on killing the off solo lane. They really do like to put high priority there for BTG, as we saw all of game number 1, them trying to gain Cure.
But should that be the game plan here, considering that the bottom lane is so important, and they should be able to see this game plan unfolding, not dissimilar to the previous game of Team Freedom?
I would say right now it's working out, right? And so I would say I think it's okay to keep it going, but if at any moment it seems like it's hesitating and that Abathur is rounding maybe that, situation that he really wants, that late game where he is on even footing in post 13, then ultimately I would say I would like to see maybe a bit of a mix-up here for BTG.
Here comes the altar. Zugrug just poking away at Ego to start things off. He's actually hit a lot of his Storm Bolts already, and he's going to have to go in there using the hat from Abathur, because he didn't have a Storm Bolt at that time, so he couldn't have poked anyway. Does now this time, though. Now it's cooldown. It's going to be Cure's turn, as he tried to go for the Drain, but didn't quite catch it.
Dahaka actually walked all the way down here, trying to get the open onto Cure. Polymorph's going to drop Power Slide immediately after, and Leo is going into Ghost form. Very well done. Beyond the game, pulling the trigger when necessary. Immediate follow-up there on Ego.
And that will be the capture for BTG. So they've got themselves a little bit of a cushion in terms of those shots so far. Great start to their campaign here in game number 1. Cure, I feel, has to be a little bit more careful in this game, though.
Very much so. The fact that that is not only the gank up on top has been successful, but that right there up on bottom, suddenly, you know, we were just asking, is this the right direction for BTG? But the fact that they can do that even in team fights, ultimately, I actually feel like picking on the Leoric here is going to be a lot more profitable than Dahaka of Sky Temple.
They picked on Leoric, and they've been controlling the bottom camp as well.
Yeah, it is really well done here. BTG is doing what is necessary, but I do not want to count out the fact that this is an Abathur composition. It's waiting to be able to have ultimate evolution. Right. Legitimately, you're down a man until that point in time. Not even considering, again, what we can see out of that mule play, and more importantly, the North American play style to this map is to prep those bell towers, so when you lose the fight, you lose the game.
And Team Freedom's not giving this one up. They realize 3 of the 4 that have spawned so far in this game have gone over to Beyond the Game. They are seizing that with both hands here. Whilst Leoric is going to head back up towards the top. Brightwing and Dahaka, though, have done a lot up there.
Yeah, I really like that maybe they are not only putting the focus onto the kills, but then also equally their pressure. Brightwing and Dahaka still have their teleports if they want to transfer down and try and force this fight down below. But ultimately, it does feel like the members of Team Freedom not looking to, you know, try and defend these sappers as much as you would expect. Ultimately, that double global is even, you know, kind of forcing them to not move out.
Tries for the Drain. Cure does not get it. ST burrows. Double alters up towards the top at the moment. Not exactly the easiest thing for Team Freedom to rotate to, but they're going to start moving ASAP as Brightwing was shifting down towards bot. So ST, though, he's low.
He does have the opportunity to brush that back. Ego's going to go ahead and get the pre-cleanse immediately onto that mosh pit. Follow-up stun. So that is a 1:20 cooldown that is not going to be available here over this. March of the Black King goes back through, healing up Cure. Ego's going to go ahead and power slide away. 7-sided stripe drops, and there goes Molly onto the back line. Rain of Vengeance actually hits the crowd control. Ancestral goes there. Ultimately, a lot of fireworks, but the drag knockback used, and they find a kill. I did not think that BTG were going to be able to secure that after using all of their heroics, but very good job there by ST, locking them down with the drag.
Very kind of scary and tense moments there for a moment as BTG actually managed to push on towards their opponent's altar, grab this as well. Team Freedom right now seems in no man's land. Even though it was just 1 loss, it was Muradin, a very important component in those team fights, and thus also being able to hold on to maybe an altar up to the top.
Yeah, it was a very kind of interesting team fight for both sides of the table and how they wanted to approach it, maybe the thought process going into it, but ultimately BTG was the team that was able to respond properly.
All right, we have this going down up towards the top, bottom here as Team Freedom seizing both of these camps mean they can eventually try and execute their master plan. Yes, they might be down shots, but if they can eventually control this bottom lane, they might be hoping that that is their key out of this situation.
That bottom lane on this map. Wait a minute, Ego. Rain of Vengeance, isolation dropped after ST gets the brush talk in. That might not be a fight that he wants. Emerald Wind splits the member here of Team Freedom. We see Wraithwalk drop Collusion trying to get the kite on outward. March of the Black King moving through the members of Beyond the Game.
7-sided did nothing, unfortunately, there as he goes down as well as Infinity. 365 gets swung at, and that's going to be 4 gone down. And this is a perfect opportunity for Team Freedom to now start asserting some dominance at the bottom.
Yeah, they need to grab this game and not let go of it here because they are still struggling so very heavily when looking at the core HP. Again, it is an Abathur game, and this is now where Abathur is going to become a problem here for BTG. So this next fight is really, I feel like, a heavy indicator towards the success for either side of the battlefield.
And the perfect alters, considering Freedom wants to keep the fight at the bottom.
Yeah, they now essentially make this transition for BTG very, very difficult. If they want to commit to this fight, there is no escape in either direction except for up, and that is very easy to secure, lock them in, make sure that you cannot make that transition upward. So much so, BTG doesn't even seem concerned with this altar. They are in fact going to keep that Dahaka up towards top.
Yeah, that's the one thing that maybe Abathur might want to kind of head towards top and try to slow that down a little bit later on down the line. Here comes BTG on towards his middle altar. Cure doing some damage. That 7-sided comes in. Unstoppable for the March of the Black King as Cure tries to rip apart on towards Ego there. ST is trying to put pressure on towards Dansky. Here comes Infinity as well. Dansky very low. And Central Heal pops at the last second.
Ego, though, is looking to move in. He has the mosh pit opportunity. Team Freedom's going to clump up. He hits the 2-man mosh pit. Damage going through and death on both sides here. But it looks like BTG is going to pull ahead, locking down 2.
Molly with the value on that Dragon Blade as well. That's a brilliant little stun coming in from Ego. The drains aren't from Cure there, so they only took 2 down during all of that chaos that ensued. But there goes a third. BTG has life yet left.
Sadly, Leoric actually will be able to Wraith walk out there and have life for himself here. But now we need to be looking at what BTG does with the map. They've got to find a way to get these bell towers back into their favor, because capturing this, it's nice. It's a silver lining, but ultimately it is only 3 shots. They are not even getting the standard that you would expect here for Towers of Doom.
So Team Freedom, as much as they did gain themselves a lot of that control down towards the bottom, look at the situation down there. This is by no means over just yet. Team Freedom has experience advantage, and they still have that bottom bell tower.
Ultimately, if you were to gauge one over the other, what is more valuable? Should you be relying on your experience or your... Hold up there, Cure. After that power sight, but look at that March of the Black King healing.
Yeah, the value off the back of that. And because they didn't kill with that with the Sapper camp now, if Team Freedom camps here for a little while, as well as maybe trying to address the problem of Dahaka up towards the top, they can happily heal that back up with that Mule value and keep the fight still in spot.
I still find it amazing, Caleris, that a talent like Mule, so situational, so very rare, that in the freak cases, like on an international stage on Towers of Doom, how high of an impact can it have? I adore it. The fact that it almost never shows up, but when it does, you're like, how do we stop the Mule?
Yeah, the value. And the range game is coming into play. We spoke about it at the very beginning, as BTG have left kind of almost a hole in their composition, but they're accounting for it very nicely, which is putting pressure onto all the other bell towers while it's going on.
I'm very surprised that Nasmus feels comfortable sitting with that Abathur hat up onto middle there, especially with the Genji. Just took a little bit of vision and very easily would have been a kill, but ultimately he figured it out, dropped the hat, pulled back. Sappers escorted up onto bottom. Ego looking to want to move up, but he's not comfortable all on his own.
One small thing that could have gone wrong. Imagine if Peekaboo dropped.
Yeah, and that's all it would have taken.
Hello.
Peekaboo and immediately see the kill there. BTG, though, did end up prepping that middle bell tower, not wanting to move and get the conversion quite yet. It would have secured them the 16 talent here. Ultimately, I feel like this is playing for a late game that may not exist. Interesting decision-making here, but the channel attempt for Leoric is going to be real. And we see Team Freedom picking up the top left as well.
2 for the price of 1. Team Freedom tries to catch up like this, and look how much value they get from those 2 turn-ins compared to the 1 because of their strength at bot lane.
This is just... Am I missing something with that middle bell tower? To back out of that bell tower would have gotten them the 16 talents here, and now it has the opportunity to kneel all the way up.
You are not missing it, especially since Mule. It's a bit...
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I am not missing out on a major outlier here. So we'll try and figure out what that is.
There could have been the potential with the control of bot lane that, you know, they thought that maybe a rotation was going to come up and catch them off guard, but the fight ensues.
Yeah, we see the Emerald Wind go down, Raid of Vengeance drop, Molly trying to get the Dragon Blade value. Infinity goes low, he uses the 7-sided Eagle, gets the mosh pit.
Big mosh pit, locking down a lot of the members here. BTG, Ancestral Heal hits onto 1-to-1 as they're going to be Molly trying to get out onto the left-hand side. He does so, and it's still this 3v5 situation with the hat coming out from the Abathur. Peekaboo on towards the top to see exactly where they are. Molly and a lot of pressure on towards the back as Cure tries to Wraith walk forward, swinging that makes as much as possible here.
Oh, the heal!
Oh, the sustain is huge!
365 trying to get the kite out. Cure chasing with the Wraith walk. They do lock down Cure, and they're able to get 365. Team Freedom lost the ball early, but they somehow kept into the fight.
The turn around from Team Freedom, absolutely catastrophic here for Beyond the Game. And with the strength that Team Freedom has down in the bot lane, having won that fight, Beyond the Game has to be sweating.
They very much have to be. So, wait, I just want to know what is going...
Let me interrupt you, because let me remind you how many shots Beyond the Game had in their hands. It was something like 12 to 30 some. It was 2 alter phase. That was crazy.
It's just the control and the momentum swing I was trying to highlight that Abathur can provide if you do not lose too heavily into the earlier stages. It is a very unique approach and a unique strategy, but one that Team Freedom is very well versed in. Something they've been doing since their entrance here towards HGC, but we are 9 seconds away from a very, very important alter.
At this point, if Team Freedom ends up being victorious in this, you go onto the MVP screen, usually you see a hero there. There should be a little mule just going popping into the MVP screen. I'd be happy with that.
I completely agree. I need that to be a thing. Blizzard, please. Shots were obtained, though, for Team Freedom, and for the very first time, 15 minutes in, they can say that they have a lead on core HP.
They knew their game plan all game long. They executed and did not stray from the plan.
It should be noted, though, but that it's still within reason for BTG to be able to take this.
Yep.
Nice invade attempt. Collusion got dragged in. Molly's going to try and make it happen. Emerald win the silence. They get the pick.
That's a big pick off there. BTG can now try and put on more pressure here. Nazmaz trying to run away with his clone Rhaegar, as Kyo will manage to get that camp, which is nice and dandy. Molly gets away with the slither of help. Here comes Muradin. Will he be able to pick him up? The stun. Will he get it? No, the mosh to save him. But Abathur, will he get him with the
drags?
Oh, he got him.
Abathur seals the deal. Now Dansky trying to use that hot pursuit, moving in here, trying to chase down the members of BTG, but they're going to be able to get this escape. I don't even think the Wraithwalk can lock that down. But BTG, again, winning these skirmishes, making miracles seem to happen. They get the pull on the Cure.
Very impressive stuff. A free kill, nicely done by BTG to pull him all the way in. 2 versus 3 dead at the moment. They need this bell tower back, Dread.
It has been so long since they have been able to claim that of their own. The melee problem seems to just never stop for them. But with the 3 members dead of Team Freedom, this is going to be their opportunity to claim it for their own. 30 seconds away. Everyone will be alive. Looking at the heroics, only Mosh Pit will not be available for what could be, again, maybe the last alter of phase of this game.
Maybe. As we continue on now, we are back to even on either side with the bell towers. As these guys slow this down, you see both teams don't have level 20 yet, but beyond the game is very close. If they could slow this to a snail's pace, try and get some soak either side, but looks like Team Freedom is not going to let them.
Nazmus already has the clone. Collusion looking to get that channel. You know, Molly has the Shuriken getting the poke. Infinity goes in. Rain of Vengeance, 7-side. It's got to be forced.
Yeah, for him, he knew that he wanted his members, ST, to come close so he could try and dash away out of the 7-sided. That was a bold play and not one that is going to pay off at all.
Now they're going to get Team Freedom another sapper to convert, or at least get a lot of damage to the bottom bell tower. It seems like a tragic story here. BTG, just minutes ago, converted that bell tower for their own, and it lasted about 20 seconds. Team Freedom's like, nah, we're going to take this thing right back.
Yeah, we know our game plan, and we'll stick to it through heaven and hell as we go forwards now. Once again, Cure just threatening to release the Wraithwalk and the Abathur Leoric combo upon this front line. Obviously doesn't want to go in front of the bell tower, but that's going to be ST under a bit of threat.
He has no burrow either. He drops the isolation just to try and get away the Muradin.
An attempt at the block, but that Muradin with the molly as well, going for the Dragon Blade, slicing and dicing, easy peasy there onto one member, despite them losing to Hacker. Collusion under a lot of threat as well. He will fall down. This Dragon Blade is non-stop, and a big stun comes down.
The Dragon becomes Molly right now. He is able to keep that Dragon Blade alive for so very long. Ice block used there by 365, able to keep him alive through the Storm Bolt. But once again, BTG does what seems like the impossible.
They held the fort.
They held the fort. Bell tower not converted. Team Freedom does not have another area to drop that mule and become the MVP. And suddenly, BTG, I feel like they've got this game. This is now suddenly their game to lose.
And Infinity, you're my favorite person of all time. We have an epiphany for Karazim, so I'm very excited about that. As once again, putting pressure on towards the bottom here. This game right down to the wire. These sappers allowing them to push even harder.
Oh my goodness. 2 altars ended up spawning here, Colaris, and we are 40 seconds away toward the boss. I don't think that we're ever going to see a stall long enough for a boss, so how are we going to see this transition? Where is the focus? Because we have to remember that Town Portal is a very easy place to camp here for this middle shots. Ultimately, BTG is going to posture towards bottom, and I think this is a lot safer.
Scary times here for BTG. Zugra's going to take this one. Are they just going to try? Ollie's going to poke to start things off. Just trying to zone towards the bottom. That's going to be one taken. And the shift in, 6 against 4 at the moment. As Infinity under a little bit of pressure manages to get out. He has plenty of dashes available thanks to Epiphany.
Asmus there with the clone again. Gonna go in on the Rhaegar. Collusion, the real Rhaegar, starting the channel. Nice zone from Cure. And it looks like BTG's unable to stop this. More shots onto the court, leaving BTG down to just 1 HP.
Remember, of course, we've been seeing Cure as well as Nazmaz with his Abathur be a very important combo. Now with Death March, Lyric is very, very scary indeed.
He is terrifying, and I did not think we maybe would get past that last altar phase, but suddenly the boss is going to be a real problem for either side. Zugrug hits the Storm Bolt.
How do they solve this puzzle? Because right now this is under threat once again. They're going to be able to clean this up. They're not going to lose the spell tower just yet.
Puts a lot of pressure on the Cure. To solve the puzzle, I think that they're going to have to dive onto Collusion with this Abathur clone still being on cooldown, using the Epiphany and really just putting way too much damage into Collusion for him to be able to survive.
Continuous wins might be an idea as well. Just to be able to try and separate some of these guys up. A teleport in on maybe a Genji, trying to separate them up. That could be the play. But at the same time, Zugrug and Kira at the front, holding on to this camp with them.
Mosh Pit's available, and there's no... Ultimate Evolution just came back online. It's going to be dropped. Infinity goes in. Eagle goes for the Mosh Pit.
But that was a great cleanse to start things up, but it wasn't enough there.
Continuous wins.
As if this is going to do us so much damage. But oh, the AoE damage coming out as well there from Team Freedom. This could be their key. This could be the victory that they need as they rip them apart. That's going to be almost a full team wipe with the Burrow for good measure. But Beyond the Game gets absolute team wiped. And that is Team Freedom buying their ticket to go to BlizzCon.
They take no hesitation to move up, take out the Headless Horseman, send those shots down to BTG's core. Very impressive performance here from Team Freedom.
It's almost Halloween. Why not finish it with the Headless Horseman as they march on? Team Freedom there. The 2-0 victory bags themselves a round of 8, and they've got to be pleased with that one.
Yeah, you absolutely, I mean, have to be. They are just going through this momentum wave that we were talking about earlier. It just feels like Team Freedom, when their backs were against the wall a little bit, they collected themselves, they thought about what they needed to do, and more importantly, they were able to execute that, to translate that to actual action.
They were so behind in that game, but as we mentioned, time and time again, they didn't stray from the plan. They knew exactly where their strengths were and where they lie. Thank you very much, Dreadnought, as we head over to the analysis desk. Team Freedom, 2-0 against BTG.
Team Freedom will eliminate Beyond the Game from the tournament, but boy, what a way to end the day. An absolute nail-biter, Gillyweed.
Yeah, BTG were fighting for their lives. It's hard to see them go after coming in, joining up together, having these sub-players, and bringing the fight like they did. They put up more of a fight than Fnatic did on Towers of Doom. And Wolf, I know you wanted more of a... you wanted that game to go to BG. You wanted game 3, but I don't think my heart could have taken game 3. That was the best game of the tournament so far.
I think this was the best series of the tournament so far as well. To me, I felt like we saw adaptations on both sides. The Tyrael ban was like one of my favorite things we've seen in the tournament, just taking that away. The Dragon Blades were really good. And at the early game, I didn't believe Freedom could take it. I thought we were going to game 3 for sure. But I'll also tell you guys, honestly, I didn't know what to expect from this team coming into this tournament. But the evolution of the team and how many heroes they can play and how defensive they can be against really strong compositions, I think this team is one to watch out for in the round of 8.
Speaking of evolution, there was an Abathur in that game, and when a fight looked lost, a Leo and Murden are like, wait a minute. What if we just get hatted by Abathur? And I'm up there, we're sitting there watching that, I'm like, I cannot believe they are turning this fight. That was one of the most clutch moments that in any other composition that doesn't happen, and the game looks totally different.
Are you talking about the solo mosh?
No, the Leo Murden.
The Leo Murden on that bottom
the
3v4?
Right. Yeah.
Just like, all right, I'm just going to stand here, and you know what? I'm going to heal up. Healing static. You've got the spike burst heal at 13, and Murden just squatted there, and he's like, try me. Try me, right?
Well, enough from us. Team Freedom is currently on the stage with Kevin, Cloak, and Johnson. Let's go hear from them.
Thanks so much, Tim. That's right. I'm here with none other than Cure from Team Freedom. Cure, what a crazy way to finish out that match. Your play was exceptional in both games, both on Dahaka and Leoric in Game 2. How are you guys feeling right now? This must be a huge relief.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. After our first series, you know, we didn't really expect to lose that map. We kind of threw it. We're feeling kind of down. But the series versus Fnatic, taking a map off them, going all the way, it was a big confidence boost for us, and we just decided to come in here and close it out on the third series.
Now, Kure, your story is kind of exceptional this year. You took a major victory in Heroes of the Dorm, Las Vegas with UT Arlington, and now you found your way all the way to BlizzCon. I want to hear a little bit about what that's like for you as a player. That's two major tournaments under your belt in 1 year, one in the amateur scene and one here in the pro scene. What is that like?
It's pretty crazy. I never expected to make it this far in the pro scene. After Dorm, I was just like, yeah, I guess I'll go pro, maybe test the waters a bit. And now here I am only a few months later in a role I'm not that familiar with on the biggest stage for the game. It's pretty surreal. I still can't believe it.
Well, it is well earned, my friend. You've got 1 week to prepare for BlizzCon. How are you guys going to spend that time to be the best you can be on that stage?
We're going to play a lot of Hero League, a lot of scrims. The thing I told my team before Game 2, I was like, you guys know that there's only 8 practice rooms in Anaheim, so we can either be depressed for a week or we could be grinding for a week, and that riled us up.
That's awesome, man. That's a great attitude. All right, well, good luck with your preparations, man. All the best. I can't wait to see you at BlizzCon. All right. Just like that, guys, Group B wraps up, and we send another team packing. Look at this. Team Freedom joins the BlizzCon bus along with Fnatic, MVP Black, and Tempo Storm from Group A. Meanwhile, Dark-Sided from ANZ, along with